So I would like to talk a little bit about the Convalescent Plasma Collection Initiative. So as we're all painfully aware, we have this deadly pandemic that exists right now that is tearing every aspect of society apart, as far as I'm concerned. So because of this, we have a collection initiative to try to combat this awful disease. So people who have actually beaten this virus can donate their plasma as part of the COVID-19 Plasma Alliance. So there are a lot of different plasma collection companies, as well as blood collection companies, such as the Red Cross. We have BPL, my company, CSL, Grifols, Biotech, Octapharma, Takeda, Biopharma, Sanguine, the list goes on. These are not all of the companies that are included, but I could go on forever. And companies are still joining this fight against COVID-19. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about plasma itself to start. So for those who may not be aware, plasma is the liquid part of your blood. It takes up about half of the total volume of blood in your body. It's actually about 55%. And the plasma itself is mostly water, 90%. But the other 10%, the part that counts the most, is the part that contains certain proteins, minerals, waste products, clotting factors, hormones, and immunoglobulins. Now, those are very important because those components are therapeutic, and we use those components to make countless treatments for so many different indications. For instance, just as an example, has everybody been vaccinated for chickenpox? And if so, you've actually received a plasma product. My company actually collects what's called VZV. It's a specialty plasma for the varicella zoster virus, which is chickenpox. And we make that vaccine along with hepatitis B vaccines. We make medicines for hemophilia, all kinds of clotting issues, burn victims, major surgeries for autoimmune diseases. There's just so many different things that plasma is used for. So it is extremely important that people donate their plasma, because without it, there are people who actually would not live. So convalescent plasma is plasma that actually contains an antibody that can help fight COVID-19. And this plasma is derived from patients who have actually recovered from COVID-19. So the plasma itself, the convalescent plasma, has a critical antibodies that could be used to help create a hyperimmune globulin, which is also similar to other hyperimmune products that we've already developed that can be used to treat smallpox, varicella, as I talked about, hepatitis B, rabies, the list goes on. So in order for anybody to donate plasma, along with people who have recovered from COVID-19, we have to do certain screenings to make sure that people are healthy and safe enough to be able to donate. So when people come in, we gather information. People have to provide a valid form of photo ID, proof of their social security number or their green card, border crossing number, that type of thing, and proof of a valid residence. They have to make sure that they've eaten prior to donating and stay well hydrated, so plenty of fluids, lots of water, because we have to be able to replenish those fluids that are taken out when we collect the plasma. You have to be in basic good health between the ages of 18 and 65, and you have to weigh between 110 and 400 pounds. So when people come in to donate, they have to answer a myriad of health history questions so we can make sure that people are well enough to be able to donate. And then they go through a screening process, which includes taking vital signs such as blood pressure, pulse, temperature, that type of thing. And then they go through a physical, which is a general physical that is done by our medical staff. So those are the basic requirements for donating any type of plasma, including the convalescent plasma. For the convalescent program itself, anybody who wishes to donate for that program or has to go through the initial screening process, but they also have to have documented evidence that they did test positive for COVID-19. And of course, that'd be provided by your healthcare provider or the testing facility. And so to make sure the donors that have recovered from COVID-19 don't pose an infection risk within the center, they have to also establish that they've had a complete resolution of symptoms for at least 28 days before they come in to donate. If somebody is able to provide a negative test result through the nasopharyngeal swab or a molecular blood test, and they can show that they're completely asymptomatic for at least 14 days before they donate, then they don't have to wait the entire 28 days. Now, this part is especially critical because those antibodies that are found in the convalescent plasma diminish over time. So we want to be able to get people in as soon as possible. So having those negative test results and being asymptomatic for 14 days is critical. So our corporate medical operations team has given our staff extensive training regarding the screening and processing of donors who have recovered from COVID, because obviously there's more protocol that we have to follow. But they are still considered to be low risk, but we definitely don't want to take chances because of the serious nature of this virus. As an industry, we are rising to the occasion and living up to our mission and our collective purpose of helping patients in need. Personally, I am so excited to be a part of such an important critical initiative. You know, that goes without saying when it comes to convalescent plasma, when it comes to regular plasma donation, because the life-saving aspect of it is what draws me and keeps me in this industry. I've been in it for 14 years, and I love every bit of it. I love it. And then when you can actually meet patients who have expressed how grateful they are just for having received the products because they are able to live, or their children are able to live, it means the world. So now more than ever, people do need our plasma, and it is just so important for people to get out there and do what they can to help. So I am going to quote our company president. He always says, there's always a patient waiting, and it is so true. So I just wanted to provide some photographs of the inside of our center. We do take every precaution we could possibly take in order to keep our staff, as well as all of our donors, all of our visitors, safe. This first picture on the left is a picture of our temperature monitoring station. Anybody who walks into the building has to have their temperature taken, and we ask a series of questions determining if a person is well enough to be able to even just enter the building. So that's the first step. Then we take social distancing measures. As you can see in that second slide, that is part of our lobby, where you can see the spots that are 6 feet apart, where people have to distance themselves. And when they go through the line to go to the kiosk, we only utilize actually half of our facility now because of COVID-19. We use only 2 of the kiosks so that the donors can stay 6 feet apart. I don't have a photograph of the donor floor because there's always donors on the floor, and their page or their privacy is always a factor. But we only utilize half of our donor beds as well, so that we have that 6 foot, well, actually it's a little bit more than 6 foot spacing in between. Now, with our employees, because they do have to be so close to the donors in order to do the physical screening, in order to perform the phlebotomy, they do have to be close, and unfortunately they can't socially distance themselves at that point. Our employees have to wear face masks at all times, and any part of the building. Anytime anybody is in the building, including our donors, they have to have a face mask, or else they are just not allowed inside. And the employees have to wear face shields as well that completely cover the face because they have that close contact. And then of course they wear gloves at all times. They avid hand washing. We disinfect the building just about every second of the day. There's always somebody cleaning and disinfecting. So we take every measure that we can possibly take to make sure everybody is safe. So does anybody have any questions?
So how many donors for the convalescent plasma have you seen in Cricket County so far?
Unfortunately, not enough. We only have two people that have presented. And, you know, right now in Craighead County, we have over 1,000, and we are trying everything that we can to get people to come in and donate. But we also understand that people don't want to leave the house. I'm not sure it's gotten out there. Of course, one thing that I did neglect to mention is that people do get paid for their time in donating. So for donors donating regular plasma, you can make up to $400 a month or more, because the company always provides bonuses, such as an extra $60 on a regular donation day, where a person could walk away with $95 for about an hour of their time. But with the convalescent plasma program, we actually pay everybody $100 per donation, which means that they could make a minimum, if they donate twice a week, which you can donate 2 times every 7 days, that's $800 plus per month. Just like I said, just for an hour of your time.
Diane, I've got a question. Someone who thinks they may have had the virus back in February or March, before it was cool.
Yes.
How would they go about confirming whether or not they have had it or are eligible to donate?
Well, I'll tell you what, we actually have 2 aspects of the program. We have the CCP part and then the CIP part. The CCP part are people who have that positive test result that donate for that special program. With the CIP part, for every bottle of plasma that is donated, we test for countless conditions and diseases, hepatitis, A, B, and C, HIV, syphilis, the list goes on and on and on. Now, along with that, they are also testing for the antibodies and immunity. And so people who just have that immunity or those antibodies, but don't have that positive test, can participate in the CIP program. So more than likely, if you did test positive back then, you would still be able to be eligible for that program, because some of those antibodies would still be in your plasma.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Diana, how much of the plasma that you collect returns back to Northeast Arkansas?
Actually, that I don't know. Once it leaves our facility, it goes to so many different places. It goes first to a storage place, which is in a different state. Then it stays frozen for quite some time, because when plasma is frozen, it's more potent, so to speak. But from there, it goes through a refractionation process, and that could be years after it's collected.
Okay.
And then once it goes through the refractionation process, it goes to the various manufacturers that create all the different kinds of medicines and treatments. So unfortunately, we don't have any statistics as to where it actually lands in the end.
What's the process to be a donor? You just show up, or do you make an appointment, or how does that?
You don't have to make an appointment. We are open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. You can come in at any time between those hours, as long as you have a valid photo ID, proof of your residence, and proof of Social Security, which can be your Social Security card, it can be your W-2s, anything that's government issued. Just come in, make sure you've eaten beforehand, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Come in and we get you signed up and we get you going. Now, that first visit is just a little bit longer than every subsequent visit, just because you do have to go through the intake process where they enter your information into the computer and ask a lot more questions. And then you go through the screening and then the physical. So that first time takes roughly, it's actually, less than 2 hours, maybe around an hour and a half or so. And then after that, it doesn't take nearly as long.
Do y'all have a lot of regulars, I guess, long before the convalescent plasma donation was, as Brian said, cool? Is that staying steady, or has that dropped off a little bit with COVID?
It has dropped off considerably. And at a time when we need it the most, we are producing less than half of the donations that we used to.
Wow.
It's a sad thing. Whereas before the pandemic hit, we were doing about 1,800 donations per week, which is incredible. And right now we're averaging about, well, sadly it's grown at the heart of it. Back, late March, early April, we were only doing about 500 donations per week. Right now we're averaging about 750. It's a sad thing. We're doing everything we can to get everybody in because it's just so critical.
One of the questions I've got on the chat is, do you, I guess if you keep up, if paying for donations, do you keep up with the total and send a 1099 for tax purposes?
You don't have to.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Diana? Okay, Diana, I believe Christy told me she's invited you to come back and join us, and would love to have you as a Rotarian. I knew when I read your bio when you sent it to me, I thought she's a Rotarian and doesn't know it yet, and I was going to do the same. So anyway, you're welcome back anytime, and if you're interested in joining, we'd love to have you. So
Can't wait. Thank you.
There's one more question. Looks like if antibodies go down over time, how long can one donate?
Oh, well, for the regular program or for the convalescent program?
I'm assuming for the convalescent programming.
Well, they can continue as long as the antibodies are present. Now, if they disappear, if they diminish completely, which we haven't seen that yet, then, obviously different steps would have to be taken. You could still continue to donate regular source plasma and continue to get paid for your time for that. But it's too new. The program is just too new. And it keeps changing. Oh my gosh. Every week we have an update call because it just changes so frequently. Fortunately, we just don't have that information yet because it hasn't happened yet.
Well, we appreciate you coming and giving us, or getting on here and giving us the presentation. That is good information. I know that's badly needed in some areas for the convalescent treatments. I've had some friends that had family members that have had to have that, and it actually it helped them out quite a bit. So hopefully we'll have a vaccine soon, and all these treatments and the vaccine will wipe this out, and we can get back to somewhat of a normal life.
I think we all strive for that. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, and so make sure I didn't jump too far ahead. Nope. So we can come back next week online again. We'll have Izzy Bond. She's going to speak to us about Lead to Succeed. The future starts now. I believe Izzy may have spoken to the club once before. She will be back and give us her presentation on Lead to Succeed. And then thought for the day: leadership is service, not position. Tim Fargo. I said, don't forget about the mask. Stuff the bus. I know we mentioned that in the bulletin and mentioned it maybe at one of the previous meetings. That is still going on. I know they're in bad need of donations, so it'd be a good way for us to serve if you're able to do that.
And you'll just let us know at some point when you have the information about how we can pay you for, how we can get and pay for our masks.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was actually trying to, I'm going to have to get a little help, but I was looking at trying to set up a Venmo for the club to be able to do good news and to be able to collect for the mask. And obviously we can send an invoice if you need to have it that way, but I was trying to make it easy to where we can do that and use that online as well. So I'm still in the process of that. Hopefully I will have that done this week. I kind of ran into a little bit of a hiccup on it. I'm working through it. All right, I guess unless anybody's got anything else.
What about good news? We didn't have good news.
We did, Al. You were late.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the good news.
Do you have some good news, Al?
No, I don't.
Oh, well. All right.
Do we need to call you the late Al Poston?
The good news is you made it on here. All right. Well, I guess we will stand adjourned until next week. If I can get my bell to ring.